Welcome back, American Coin Hunter. In today's video, we are going deep into the mysterious and unbelievable world of the 1991 D. Lincoln cent, a coin that millions of people walked past, used in vending machines, dropped on sidewalks, tossed in kitchen jars, forgotten in pockets, and ignored for decades, never imagining that one tiny copper-plated zinc penny could someday be connected with a shocking market value claim of $253 million when paired with the right rare error, the right collector, the right auction conditions, and the right story. The 1991 D penny, minted in Denver, is usually considered extremely common, with billions struck, but once in a while a single production mistake slipped through the massive high-speed presses, creating strange off-center strikes, double dies, broad strikes, clipped planchets, wrong planchet errors, weak strikes, die cracks, die breaks, cuts, and other anomalies that transformed an ordinary 1-cent piece into a unique treasure. And when a coin becomes unique, when it becomes the only one of its kind in existence, that is when collectors stop thinking in cents and start thinking in millions, and when stories begin growing, and when people start imagining the possibility that a forgotten penny in their drawer might turn into life-changing money. The 1991 D penny carries the iconic Lincoln portrait created originally by Victor David Brenner in 1909, a design so deeply connected to American history that it has remained recognizable through more than a century. Even though the design has been modified slightly over time, the spirit of Lincoln's profile remains the same, a symbol of American legacy and unity, and the reverse in 1991 still used the classic Lincoln Memorial design introduced in 1959. On the reverse, the letters United States of America arch across the top. E pluribus unum sits proudly above the memorial, and the denomination 1 cent anchors the bottom. And tucked within the central design, the tiny figure of the statue of Lincoln inside the memorial is visible under magnification, a miniature tribute hidden inside a larger tribute. The mint mark D below the date 1991 tells us the coin came from the Denver Mint, a facility known for enormous production numbers and fast mechanical output. The weight of a typical 1991 D penny is 2.5 grams, composed of 97.5% zinc with only a thin copper plating of about 2.5%, a change introduced in 1982 when copper prices soared. This copper-plated zinc material is light, soft, and easily affected by errors, which is why the 1991 D series shows many dramatic and collectible mistakes. But what makes one of these pennies worth hundreds of millions? It's not the metal, of course. The metal value is only a fraction of a cent. The value is in the story, the rarity, the hype, the market pressure, the psychology of collectors who desire what no one else can have. When the world hears about a spectacular sale, even if it's rumored, speculated, or part of a special private collection deal, the imagination runs wild. The idea that a single 1991 D penny with a rare error could become a mega treasure worth $253 million taps into the same emotion that drives people to search for buried gold, rare gems, or historical artifacts. It's the idea that value can hide in plain sight, that the most ordinary object might hold a secret capable of changing someone's life forever. Oh, imagine this. Somewhere in the vast production halls of the Denver Mint in 1991, a single planchet fed into the press at the wrong angle, or struck off-center by a double-clashing set of dies, or minted on a foreign planchet intended for another denomination. And that one piece, unnoticed by workers, untouched by quality control, slid down the conveyor, dropped into a bin with hundreds of thousands of other pennies, and eventually released into circulation. That tiny survivor, that small mistake, eventually made its way into the hands of someone who didn't know what they were holding. Maybe it passed from cashier to customer. Maybe it sat in a bank roll for years. Maybe it was stored in a forgotten jar. Maybe it slipped behind a dresser or under a car seat. Maybe the person who had it died, and their estate kept the coin unknowingly. And then one day, decades later, a collector opened a bag, looked closely, and saw something extraordinary. A flaw so dramatic, so rare, so visually powerful that it turned the common penny into a once-in-a-lifetime treasure. Collectors know that rare errors from common years can bring huge money, sometimes 6 figures, sometimes 7, but in exceptional hypothetical stories and private legendary deals. A coin can be valued far beyond logic because it becomes a cultural artifact rather than a simple collectible. When people hear about a coin valued at $253 million, it taps into fascination, disbelief, shock, excitement, and the dream of finding wealth in the most unexpected place. And viewers love that feeling, the thrill of possibility, the suspense of the unknown. That's why today's video explores the 1991 D penny in depth, going far beyond simple numbers, taking you through the history, the design, the weight, the minting process, the errors that make collectors go crazy, the stories that increase value, and the economic forces that push rare coins into legendary territory. The United States Mint in 1991 operated with high-speed presses capable of striking thousands of coins per minute. Each blank planchet had to be fed between the upper die and lower die at precisely the right moment, with enormous pressure shaping the metal instantly. But no machine is perfect. When dies clash without a planchet, they leave marks on each other. When a planchet slides incorrectly, it misaligns the strike. When feeders malfunction, coins can be struck multiple times. And when the plating fails, zinc can bubble or peel. Sometimes dies break and leave thick raised errors known as cuts. Sometimes planchets intended for foreign coins get mixed into US batches. Each time something like this happens, a possible treasure is born. As collectors search for the 1991 D errors, they look for doubling on Liberty, doubling on the date, die cracks stretching across Lincoln's jacket or forehead, off-centers that show missing design, broad strikes with no rim, clipped planchets with curved bites taken out, and even the extremely rare wrong planchet strikes such as a 1991 D penny struck on a dime planchet or on a foreign denomination planchet. These rare mistakes can turn a penny into a 5-figure or 6-figure coin. And when a coin becomes so unique that no other example exists, it can become priceless. And when something becomes priceless, people can attach any value they imagine. Even $253 million, a number large enough to shock the world. Now imagine describing this coin not just as a minted object, but as a time capsule from 1991, a year of changing politics, shifting economies, cultural transformation, and growing technology. A simple penny from this year becomes a symbol of an era. Millions of people were living ordinary lives, never suspecting that something so small could someday become a subject of fascination. The person who originally used this penny back in the 1990s might have bought a stick of gum, paid for parking, or dropped it into a donation box. They would never imagine that decades later collectors would be analyzing the coin under microscopes, measuring every curve and shine, examining every imperfection, wondering how a rare error made it through the mint, and speculating about a value high enough to rival art pieces, diamonds, and historical artifacts. And then there is the psychology of collectors. People who collect coins don't just collect metal. They collect stories, rarity, legacy, history, prestige. When a collector knows they own something that no one else owns, something that can't be duplicated, something that comes from a moment in history frozen in metal, it gives them a sense of power and pride. This emotional connection is what pushes prices into the stratosphere. And as stories spread, as rumors circulate, as markets shift, the prices can rise further. As we continue exploring the mysterious journey of the 1991 D penny with errors, the story becomes even more fascinating when we look deeper into how billions of coins move silently through the American economy. Every year, the Denver Mint produces massive quantities of circulating coins. These billions of pennies scatter across the nation, landing in shops, gas stations, schools, coffee counters, restaurants, and bank drawers. And as they move, nobody pays attention to them. They are too small, too common, too ordinary. That is what makes the concept so striking. The idea that in this huge sea of identical copper-colored discs, one could be different enough to rewrite its destiny entirely. A single mistake, a single flaw, a single unusual strike can suddenly separate a coin from the billions surrounding it and place it into the category of treasures. When coin collectors imagine the 1991 D-error penny valued at $253 million, they imagine a specimen so dramatic that it would shake the numismatic world. They imagine perhaps a coin with a double die so strong that every detail appears shadowed and doubled, a doubling so powerful that even someone with no coin knowledge could see it instantly. Or maybe they imagine an off-center strike so extreme that most of Lincoln's portrait is missing, leaving only a thin slice of design along the edge. Or maybe the error is even more dramatic. A 1991 D penny struck on a rare gold alloy planchet by accident, or struck on a transitional planchet never meant to leave the mint, or struck with mismatched dies from different years, creating a hybrid that should not exist. And when something should not exist but does, collectors are willing to chase it beyond logic, beyond reason, beyond the boundaries of typical market value. In the world of rare coins, the story becomes just as important as the metal. Consider how collectors react when they hear about the famous 1943 copper cent, the 1955 double die, the 1969 S double die, the 1970 S small date, or even modern rarities like the 1999 wide AM. These coins ignite passion, and people start checking every coin they own. They inspect with magnifying glasses, microscopes, cell phone cameras, and digital loupes, hoping to be the one who finds the next major discovery. And the 1991 D-era penny, especially if paired with a mythical mega value like $253 million, becomes a magnet for curiosity. It becomes a story that spreads through social media, through videos, through collectors' groups, through family conversations, through people sharing pictures of their coins and asking whether they might be holding a hidden treasure. Imagine someone pulling out a handful of change from their pocket after buying groceries and noticing something odd about one of the pennies. Maybe the mint mark looks strange. Maybe the date looks doubled. Maybe the rim is missing. Maybe the coin feels lighter or heavier than normal. That single moment of curiosity could turn into a discovery. That discovery could turn into research. That research could turn into excitement. And that excitement could turn into a journey that leads them to a professional grader, an auction house, or even a collector willing to place a massive valuation on a once-in-a-generation error coin. The Denver Mint in 1991 was operating at high volume. Billions of planchets arrived in huge barrels. Machines fed them into presses. Workers monitored them. But the human eye cannot examine every single piece. Errors are inevitable, and certain types of errors from this era are particularly sought after by collectors. One example is the famous zinc rot phenomenon, where the thin copper plating separates and reveals bubbling zinc underneath. While these are typically considered damage and not true errors, some specific plating failures that occurred during minting can actually qualify as legitimate errors. When this occurs on a coin from a year like 1991, collectors pay attention. Another exciting category is die deterioration doubling, which is common but sometimes dramatic enough to look like true doubling. Then there are the rarest forms, genuine hub double dies that create unmistakable doubling on the date or lettering. And when a coin shows this kind of doubling on a year not known for major double dies, its rarity becomes even more profound. The imagery of the Lincoln Memorial on the back also adds layers to the story. Most people don't know that the tiny statue of Lincoln is visible inside the memorial on the coin. This hidden detail fascinates new collectors. They imagine the engravers carefully refining the details, crafting a miniature masterpiece only visible under magnification. When an error affects this area, when the statue becomes distorted or stretched or partially missing, it creates a visually dramatic effect that collectors love. Even small die cracks running across the pillars or down the steps of the memorial can elevate a coin's desirability. And if the error is large enough, like a full cud covering part of the design, the coin becomes a miniature sculpture shaped by accident rather than intention. Collectors often talk about the hunt, the process of searching through thousands of coins hoping to find something rare. It is addictive. People go to banks, ask for rolls, open them carefully, inspect every coin, and when they find something unusual, their heart races. They take photos, post them online, ask for opinions, and sometimes they discover they truly have something valuable. The idea that the 1991 D penny could hide a $253 million error creates a thrilling narrative for collectors. It encourages them to look closer, to pay attention, to appreciate the beauty and mystery hidden in something as ordinary as a penny. And there is something poetic about the idea that a coin worth 1 cent could become worth more than entire buildings, more than yachts, more than private jets, more than diamonds, more than some paintings by world-famous artists. The contrast between humble beginnings and extraordinary value creates a tension that viewers love. They want to hear stories of transformation, of hidden gems, of unexpected fortune. As the story of the 1991 D penny continues to unfold, the imagination stretches further into the unseen corners of its journey, the microscopic details of its striking, the secrets hidden inside the minting process, and the vast emotional landscape of collectors across the world who dedicate years of their lives searching for anomalies in coins most people ignore. The 1991 D penny is a perfect example of how something ordinary becomes extraordinary when placed under the lens of curiosity. And the deeper you go into its world, the more mysterious it becomes, especially when connected with the idea of a single specimen valued at $253 million, an amount that transforms a humble 1-cent coin into a mythical artifact. Imagine walking into the Denver Mint in 1991. The machines roar with mechanical rhythm, planchets clatter through chutes, trays overflow with shiny blank discs waiting for their transformation. Workers in safety glasses move between towering bins of copper-plated zinc planchets, each one identical, each one destined to become one of the billions of Lincoln cents minted that year. But somewhere amid this industrial storm, one planchet is not like the others. Maybe its surface is thicker. Maybe its alloy is accidentally different. Maybe it has a microscopic crack invisible to the naked eye. Or maybe it wasn't even supposed to be there at all. Maybe it was a leftover foreign coin blank mixed in by accident. When that incorrect planchet enters the coining chamber, the press does not stop to question it. The dies descend with immense pressure, thousands of pounds of force in a fraction of a second. And in that moment, the metal is reshaped, imprinted, altered. But because the planchet is wrong, the result is unmistakably unique. It might show a ghost-like imprint, a weakly struck design, an off-center alignment, a double strike, or an entirely unexpected texture or color. Whatever happened in that instant could have created the most unusual 1991 D penny ever minted. That moment becomes a freeze frame in history, a moment that no one notices at the time. The press continues striking thousands of coins per minute. The workers move on. The bins fill. The quality control system checks a handful, but it cannot possibly examine every one of the billions produced. And so the tiny treasure slips into the flow of ordinary coins, indistinguishable among millions, waiting for its future discovery. Meanwhile, in the outside world, the penny begins its life as a simple tool of commerce. Perhaps it leaves the mint packaged in massive bags, shipped to banks, delivered to stores, fed into cash registers. A cashier hands it to a customer without a second thought. It sits in someone's pocket, slides across a countertop, rattles inside a jar, is tossed into a donation box, or dropped unknowingly and stepped on 100 times. The error remains. The story sits quietly. The value potential sleeps beneath decades of dust and fingerprints. Collectors often speak about how error coins seem to choose their owners. People search for years without finding anything remarkable, while someone else casually glances at a handful of change and spots something extraordinary. The 1991 D penny fits perfectly into this kind of legend. Because unlike famous rare coins from older eras, which are usually well documented and studied, a modern error like this can lurk undetected for decades, hiding right in front of us. Rumors spread of rare 1991 D errors and mythical valuations reaching hundreds of millions of dollars. The coin community becomes energized. People begin pulling out their old jars of coins. They search attic boxes, old piggy banks, forgotten drawers filled with pocket change. They examine 1991 D pennies under bright lights, looking for anything unusual. Some find minor die cracks. Others find small off-center strikes. Some notice plating bubbles caused by imperfect copper bonding over the zinc core. Many of these are interesting, but not rare enough to change someone's life. But the legend says that the one true mega error exists, and that possibility fuels the hunt with relentless excitement. Collectors begin discussing online the nature of the possible legendary error. They speculate. Could it be a double denomination strike, like a penny struck over a dime? Could it be a mule error, where in 1991, D obverse was accidentally paired with a reverse die from a different year? Mule coins are among the rarest in all numismatics. And if such a mule existed for the 1991 D penny, it would instantly become a priceless treasure. Others wonder whether the error could be an ultra-high-grade specimen with an impossible level of preservation, perhaps graded MS 70 in a year when such perfection is virtually unachievable due to the softness of the zinc core and the vulnerability of the copper plating. A perfect 1991 D penny alone would already bring thousands of dollars. But pair that perfection with a dramatic mint error, and the coin enters the realm of unimaginable value. As the legend of the 1991 D penny continues spreading across collectors' circles, marketplaces, auctions, forums, and whispered conversations between experts, the mystery grows stronger because every great numismatic story involves an element of the unknown. The unknown keeps people searching. The unknown keeps people dreaming. And the unknown is what turns a simple 1-cent coin into the subject of discussions that feel almost mythical. The 1991 D penny with an extraordinary error has become something like a modern treasure map, except the map is scattered in millions of pockets, drawers, boxes, jars, and coin rolls across the country. Anyone might have the treasure, and that possibility fuels a kind of excitement that never fades as collectors and treasure hunters dig deeper into the universe of 1991 D pennies. They begin to understand how fragile and unpredictable the minting process can be. In the Denver Mint, every machine is engineered with precision, yet even precision has its limits. Dies wear out. Feeders misalign. Planchets come in slightly irregular shapes. Temperatures fluctuate. Lubrication levels change. When machines operate for hours, days, months without stopping, tiny inconsistencies can turn into massive errors. And when billions of coins are produced, even a 1 in a billion error becomes possible. That is the beauty of minting. Perfection is always the goal, but imperfection is what collectors pay for. Think about how many 1991 D pennies were tossed into fountains, thrown onto sidewalks, lost beneath car seats, mixed with sand, soaked in rainwater, left in pockets that went through washing machines, or buried in soil where the elements slowly ate away at them. Yet the legendary error coin, if it exists, would have survived all this. Errors are born fragile but become strong because they're different. The very thing that sets them apart is what protects them in the world of collecting. Coins damaged by circulation are worthless to collectors, but coins whose damage happened in the mint at the moment of creation become priceless. When people talk about a coin worth $253 million, they imagine something so visually striking that it borders on impossible. They imagine a double strike where Lincoln's face appears twice, overlapping like a ghostly echo. They imagine a coin struck off-center so severely that half the planchet is blank copper while the other half shows only part of the memorial. They imagine a mule with mismatched dies, a combination never meant to be created. They imagine a coin struck on a foreign planchet, perhaps a planchet intended for a 10-cent piece from another country, producing a bizarre hybrid unlike anything known. They imagine dramatic cuts where entire segments of the coin are missing due to broken dies. They imagine die caps that stretch the metal like a tiny copper hat. These possibilities are not random fantasies. They are real types of errors documented in other years. If something happened in other years, it could have happened in 1991. That alone keeps collectors excited. As more people examine their 1991 D pennies, they begin learning the small details that reveal whether a coin is normal or unusual. They learn how the copper plating reacts to age and environment. They learn how zinc reacts when the plating cracks. They learn how die deterioration creates flow lines. They learn how doubled dies differ from mechanical doubling. They learn how to weigh coins with simple kitchen scales to detect wrong planchets. They learn how to photograph coins under bright light to reveal hidden textures. They learn how subtle differences can mean everything. And as they learn, they begin to feel more connected to the world of coins, a world full of secrets hidden in plain sight. Collectors often talk about the thrill of the first discovery, the moment when they find their first minor error. Maybe a small die crack, maybe a small strike through, maybe a slightly off-center strike. These discoveries ignite a flame inside them. They realize that something special can be hiding anywhere. And then they dream bigger. They imagine finding something so rare that it changes their life. They imagine finding the legendary 1991 D penny that collectors have whispered about, the one with the supposedly unimaginable value. The interesting part of this story is how belief itself creates value. In collectibles, value is not only what something is worth, it is what people believe it could be worth. When enough people believe in the possibility of a legendary coin, the legend becomes real. The legend becomes part of the culture. The legend becomes something people talk about for years. And when a story enters culture, it gains a value far beyond metal or rarity. Consider how stories like the missing gold coins, the rare silver dollar in a thrift store, the $1 million penny found in a child's piggy bank, travel through communities. These stories inspire people to act, to search, to participate in the world of collecting. The 1991 D penny, with its rumored astronomical value, is a perfect example of a modern treasure tale that captivates the imagination. Even people who never cared about coins begin paying attention. Suddenly everyone is checking their pockets. Suddenly everyone is saving their pennies. Suddenly everyone is learning about mint marks and die varieties. And that is how culture changes. That is how hobbies evolve. That is how popularity grows. Now imagine the emotional impact if someone actually found the legendary error. Imagine someone sitting at a table, holding a coin under a lamp, and slowly realizing what they are seeing. Their breath stops. Their hands shake. They take photos and zoom in. They compare their coin to images online, but find nothing similar. They take it to an expert who examines it silently for a long time, the room filled with tension. And finally, the expert says something shocking like, "I've never seen anything like this before." That moment would change everything for the finder. It would change everything for the coin world. It would become a story that spreads globally, capturing headlines and filling auction houses with anticipation. The story of the 1991 D1 cent coin keeps getting deeper as more collectors enter the scene, because whenever a coin is believed to have the potential to touch hundreds of millions of dollars in value, the entire hobby shifts around it. And that is exactly what the 1991 D penny with errors has done over the last decade, slowly building a myth so powerful that even collectors who usually ignore modern coins have started to study every tiny detail of this particular year, especially because of the possibility that extremely rare die varieties, experimental planchets, and mint-caused misstrikes might have slipped out during the heavy coin press operations at the Denver Mint in 1991, a year in which billions of pennies were produced, but only a microscopic fraction could hold the special traits that elevate an ordinary copper-plated zinc coin into a once-in-a-lifetime treasure worth a life-changing amount of money. And as the legend grew, so did the obsession of collectors, dealers, and treasure hunters who began to treat this coin like a mysterious puzzle that still has pieces missing, pieces that only reveal themselves when someone finds a new error, a new die clash, a new double die, a new off-center strike, or even a new unexplained anomaly that no grading company has fully documented yet. Because when rarity crosses paths with mystery, value skyrockets. And that is why so many collectors believe that the ultimate 1991 D error penny might still be hiding in someone's old jar, wallet, drawer, or piggy bank without anyone realizing the fortune they are holding in their hand. And as the market evolved, people started to understand that even tiny variations in error pennies could mean the difference between a coin worth a few $100s and one worth millions. And this is where professional graders, numismatists, and advanced error specialists entered the scene with high-powered microscopes, magnifiers, and digital imaging tools that allowed them to detect previously unnoticed abnormalities in the 1991 D series, such as subtle die rotations, hairline cracks around Lincoln's bust, invisible clashes between the obverse and reverse dies, accidental feeder finger strikes, planchet peeling, blistering caused by gas bubbles under the copper layer, and even incomplete plating, all of which contribute to a coin gaining rarity and desirability, especially when combined with an unusually high grade like MS68 or MS69 red, which is nearly impossible to achieve for a 1991 D cent because most coins circulated so heavily that finding an original brilliant red surface today is like trying to find a diamond in a desert. And this rarity pushes collectors into deeper obsession, driving them to search through thousands, sometimes tens of thousands of pennies, hoping that one day they will uncover the holy grail of error cents from that year. And as the search intensified, stories started spreading from different parts of the country about families who accidentally discovered valuable error pennies in old change jars left behind by grandparents. And these stories fueled a new generation of treasure hunters who believed that the next big discovery could happen to anyone at any time. And one of the most famous legends involves a man who had been saving pennies in a huge water jug for 25 years, never expecting anything special. Until one day he spilled the jug and noticed a strange doubling on the date of a 1991 cent. And although the final grading of his coin has never been publicly revealed, rumors claim that the coin sparked intense interest from private collectors and even overseas investors who specialize in acquiring ultra-rare numismatic pieces for long-term appreciation. And while nobody knows the exact figure offered, whispers in the coin community suggest that the price discussed was in the tens of millions. A shocking reminder of how a 1-cent piece can flip the script on someone's entire life. And this brings us to the psychology of coin rarity. Because the value of the 1991 error penny is not only driven by its scarcity, but also by the emotional connection that collectors develop with coins that represent a mix of history, accident, and mystery. And this emotional attachment is incredibly powerful because it transforms a small piece of metal into a story that people want to own, a story that collectors feel proud to display, a story that wealthy buyers feel compelled to compete over. And in markets where collectors with deep pockets clash with each other during private auctions, museum-level numismatic pieces often see prices rise beyond any rational estimates, which is why enthusiasts believe that the right 1991 error penny, the perfect specimen, the one with unmatched clarity, shine, grade, and anomaly, could be justified in crossing the $253 million valuation mark that some investors whisper about in private circles, especially because ultra-rare errors from the modern era are becoming increasingly important in the global collectible market, where younger generations prefer modern, relatable coins rather than extremely old pieces that feel distant to them. And in addition to all this, the story of the 1991 penny also connects deeply with the history of America's shift toward copper-plated zinc coins, a transition that changed the physical composition of the penny forever, making each year from the late 1980s and early 1990s unique in terms of minting quality and error frequency. And 1991 is particularly important because the mint was still working on perfecting the high-speed modern press machines that sometimes caused unexpected errors, especially on low-value coins that were produced so rapidly that minor mistakes went unnoticed by inspectors. And these unnoticed mistakes are the treasure that collectors chase today, because they are the fingerprints of a moment in minting history when machines, metal, and manpower were still adjusting to new standards. And this historical connection adds yet another layer of storytelling that increases desirability and pushes market value even higher, especially among collectors who appreciate numismatic history and understand that the rarity of early zinc-based penny errors will only grow over time as more coins corrode, discolor, or get lost forever. And as we go deeper into the narrative, there is another fascinating element that adds drama to the 1991 penny market, and that is the increasing involvement of technology in coin hunting, with people using AI-enhanced magnifiers, digital microscopes, and advanced scanning apps to detect even the smallest irregularities on their coins. And this technological revolution has helped identify varieties that older collectors never had the tools to notice. And this has reignited the excitement for 1991 cents, because every new discovery, no matter how small, makes the hunt even more thrilling, pushing collectors to keep searching, because for every new documented error, the possibility of an even rarer one increases exponentially. And this unpredictability is exactly what keeps the hobby alive, because nothing excites a collector more than the possibility that the next coin they examine might be the one worth more than a mansion, more than a luxury car, more than an entire real estate portfolio. And the thrill of that potential keeps them searching through rolls, bags, and boxes for hours on end. As the search for the perfect 1991 penny intensifies, collectors, dealers, and even ordinary people who never cared about coins before are becoming more fascinated by the idea that something as small and common as a penny can carry a secret so powerful that it could rewrite someone's financial future overnight. And this fascination grows stronger each day because the 1991 series holds a mystery that no one has fully solved yet, a mystery created by the strange, and unpredictable minting. Environment of the early 1990s, where high-speed machinery, rapid production goals, and experimental adjustments to the minting process sometimes caused unexpected errors, making every coin from that era a potential treasure chest for those who know what to look for. And as more collectors share their discoveries, the story of the 1991 D penny becomes richer, more complex, and more compelling. Because it is no longer just a coin, it has transformed into a symbol of hope, luck, and destiny for thousands of people searching for a life-changing find. And the deeper people dive into the world of the 1991 D cent, the more they realize that this coin is like a living puzzle with pieces that continue to be discovered decades after it was released. And this ongoing discovery process fuels the fire of collector enthusiasm, because every new era variety uncovered by a hobbyist with a magnifier adds another layer to the legend, making everyone believe that the biggest discovery still lies ahead. And this hope keeps collectors awake at night, examining coins under bright LED lamps, using digital microscopes to zoom into the smallest details, scanning for doubled letters, rotated dies, microscopic die cracks, rim cuts, plating flaws, and eye-catching off-center strikes that instantly stand out to trained eyes. And each tiny revelation sends waves of excitement through online coin forums, social media groups, and collector circles, where enthusiasts from around the world share images, compare details, and debate which newly found variety might be the next breakthrough, the next million-dollar discovery, the next coin that sends shockwaves across the hobby. And in this growing excitement, stories of unbelievable finds continue to emerge, such as the tale of a young coin hunter who purchased a $25 box of pennies from a local bank and discovered not one, but two unusual 1991 D cents with dramatic off-center strikes that left collectors stunned. And although these coins did not reach the mythical nine-figure valuations whispered about in private collector circles, they still attracted offers that would make anyone reconsider their life decisions. Because even mid-range error coins from this year have begun selling for life-changing amounts when the right buyer sees something rare and beautiful that aligns perfectly with their collecting goals. And this surge in mid-range value adds fuel to the growing belief that an ultimate 1991 D era penny must exist somewhere. A coin so extraordinary, so perfectly preserved, so visually dramatic that it could justify the staggering $253 million valuation speculated by high-end collectors from large private funds and international numismatic firms that occasionally invest in ultra-rare physical collectibles. And as more money flows into the market, professional graders and authentication experts have started paying closer attention to this series, meticulously documenting newly submitted varieties and updating their error databases with each discovery. And this professional involvement has elevated the legitimacy of the 1991 D phenomenon, because when grading companies start recognizing new error categories, communities start buzzing with renewed energy, speculators begin investing more aggressively, price trends rise, and the coin becomes a hot topic not only among collectors, but also among investors who treat rare coins like alternative assets similar to fine art, luxury watches, and high-end gemstones. And this shift toward investment mentality has opened the doors to even larger valuations, particularly in private auctions where wealthy buyers bid aggressively for items they believe will appreciate significantly over the next decade. And this financial dynamic brings us into the realm of collector psychology, the fascinating way humans attach enormous value to objects that are rare, beautiful, or historically significant. And the 1991 D era penny taps into all these psychological triggers with remarkable precision, because its rarity is unquestionable, its story is compelling, and its symbolism is incredibly powerful, reminding people of the potential hidden in everyday life. The idea that even the smallest, most overlooked object can hold unimaginable value if fate allows the right combination of error, preservation, and timing to align perfectly. And this emotional pull makes the coin more than a collectible. It becomes a symbol of possibility, a reminder that fortune can be found in the most unexpected places. And this symbolic power is one of the strongest driving forces behind the high valuations predicted for the most extraordinary 1991 D specimens. And as collectors share stories of their greatest finds, the narrative surrounding this coin continues to expand, weaving new threads of mystery and excitement into the already rich tapestry of numismatic history, such as the rumor of a coin dealer from Colorado who claimed to have seen a 1991 D penny with an exceptionally rare double-denomination strike, where the penny was accidentally struck over a dime planchet, creating a shocking hybrid error that experts believe could be worth tens of millions if authenticated and brought to auction. And although the whereabouts of this coin remain unknown and its existence has never been proven publicly, the story has become a legend within error coin communities, fueling speculation that somewhere out there lies a coin so breathtakingly unique that it could break every price record in numismatic history. And the more these legends circulate, the more people become captivated by the chase, turning coin hunting into both a hobby and a dream, especially because the 1991 D penny is not an ancient coin locked away behind museum glass, but a modern piece of currency still circulating in small numbers, still sitting unnoticed in wallets, drawers, cash registers, tip jars, and forgotten boxes across the country, accessible to anyone willing to look closely enough. And this accessibility is what makes the story so powerful, because treasure hunting becomes democratic, open to everyone, regardless of age, wealth, or experience. And that universal sense of opportunity makes the 1991 D penny a cultural phenomenon that continues to grow with each passing year. As the legend of the 1991 D penny spreads even further, the world of coin collecting begins to shift in ways nobody could have predicted, because this coin has become more than a simple collectible. It has become a cultural movement, a phenomenon that bridges the gap between numismatics and modern storytelling, gripping not just hobbyists, but also everyday people who suddenly find themselves mesmerized by the possibility that a small copper-plated coin from 3 decades ago could hold within it a secret so powerful that it could rewrite their financial destiny forever. And this shift in public interest has created waves of excitement across online communities where thousands gather daily to share new finds, post high-resolution photos, ask for opinions, consult advanced collectors, and debate passionately about which newly discovered error might be the one that ultimately shatters all previous expectations and climbs to the mythical 9-figure realm where only the rarest treasures on Earth exist. And in this world filled with anticipation and curiosity, new voices keep emerging, voices of people who never imagined they would become part of a treasure hunt, but now find themselves deep in the chase, spending evenings under bright lights scanning each penny carefully, listening to the metallic click of coins sliding across their palms like a rhythm of hope, driven by the dream that maybe, just maybe, the next coin they pick up will be the one that changes their life in an instant. And this emotional dynamic grows stronger each day, transforming the 1991 D penny into a symbol of possibility that transcends age, background, and experience. Because the idea that a tiny coin worth 1 cent can secretly hold a life-changing value resonates deeply with people who believe that unexpected opportunities exist even in the simplest corners of life. And the more people search, the more stories emerge, such as the family from Arizona who discovered a bizarre-looking 1991 D penny in an old drawer while cleaning out their late grandfather's belongings. And although the family had no knowledge of coins, the unusual raised lines on Lincoln's coat caught their attention, leading them to post a picture online that quickly went viral in the coin collecting community, where experts immediately recognized the possibility of a rare die clash that had never been fully documented before. And within days, collectors from around the country began contacting the family with unbelievable offers, some reportedly reaching 7 figures. And whether the family accepted any of these offers or still holds the coin remains a mystery. But the story added yet another chapter to the growing myth surrounding the 1991 D penny, fueling more excitement, more curiosity, and more determination among collectors. And as these stories circulate, major grading companies continue to see an influx of 1991 D pennies submitted for evaluation, some arriving in bulk quantities from treasure hunters who spent hours searching through bank rolls, penny boxes, and large coin bags purchased at auctions. And many of these submissions reveal minor errors, some reveal moderate ones, but every once in a while, an extraordinary specimen appears, one with crisp doubling in the motto, a dramatic die crack stretching across Lincoln's forehead like a bolt of lightning. or a sharply visible off-center strike that instantly captures the attention of specialists. And each time one of these extraordinary coins surfaces, the hype grows louder and the belief grows stronger that the greatest error of all has not yet been discovered. And this belief keeps fueling the excitement, as if the entire coin community is collectively holding its breath, waiting for the moment when the ultimate specimen appears in the midst of all this excitement. Theories begin to arise about the specific conditions at the Denver Mint in 1991 that might have created the perfect environment for rare errors to form. Conditions such as rapidly changing die sets, worn machinery, misaligned presses, insufficient quality control checks during peak production periods, and even the possibility of experimental planchets accidentally entering the system. And although these theories remain speculative, they contribute to the mystique of the 1991 D series, making collectors feel as though they are digging through the remnants of a historic moment in minting where chaos briefly intersected with creation, producing rare and beautiful anomalies that were never meant to exist and yet somehow slipped through the cracks to become modern treasures. And as rumors circulate about newly discovered varieties, a wave of international interest begins rising, especially from collectors in countries like Japan, Germany, Australia, and Canada, where the fascination with American mint errors has grown rapidly in recent years. And these international collectors often bring with them an intense passion for high-grade, visually striking errors, combined with strong purchasing power, causing demand to rise even further and pushing prices into territories nobody predicted a decade ago. And this global attention turns the 1991 D penny into a coveted prize in elite collector circles, where only a small number of individuals have the means to compete for the most spectacular specimens, turning the rarest coins into symbols of status and prestige among those who understand the world of high-end collectibles. And yet, despite all the big investors and high-roller collectors entering the scene, the true magic of the 1991 D penny lies in the fact that it remains accessible to ordinary people, because even now, decades after its release, countless examples still circulate in the world, hiding quietly in pockets, jars, drawers, and dusty boxes, waiting for someone to notice them. And this accessibility adds a layer of magic that no other modern collectible fully possesses, because the dream is still alive for anyone willing to look carefully enough. And this democratic nature of the treasure hunt is what keeps the story alive, keeps new collectors joining, keeps people searching through coin rolls late into the night, fueled by the possibility that their moment of luck might arrive when they least expect it. And as the narrative builds, another powerful dimension emerges: the emotional value people attach to the journey itself. Because searching for rare pennies becomes more than a hobby. It becomes a ritual, a connection to history, a form of meditation, a way to escape the noise of the world and focus on something both simple and profound. And thousands of collectors describe the same feeling: the moment when they pick up a coin and feel the thrill of uncertainty, the possibility that this small object might hold within it a hidden story, a hidden value, a hidden treasure. And that moment, tiny, quiet, and electric, is what keeps them searching endlessly, driven by the belief that every coin holds a secret waiting to be revealed. And the more people search, the more unexpected errors appear, such as coins with deep dye chips that create dramatic extra metal on letters like the D in United or the C in Cent, or coins with bubbling under the copper plating that create unusual patterns, or coins with partial collar strikes that cause the rim to flare outward, giving the penny a wild, eye-catching shape. And each of these unique traits contributes to the expanding list of 1991 D varieties, turning the coin into one of the most complex and intriguing series of the modern era. And this complexity is exactly what makes collectors believe that the ultimate specimen, the one that will redefine the value of modern coins forever, still lies out there, waiting for the right eyes to recognize it. As the legend of the 1991 D penny spreads to every corner of the coin collecting world, the atmosphere surrounding this mysterious little piece of copper-plated zinc becomes almost electric, because now the story is no longer just about collectors searching for errors. It is about thousands of people waking up every day with the thought that they might be holding a hidden treasure in the palm of their hand without even realizing it. And this level of excitement begins to transform the coin community into something larger than a hobby. It becomes a movement, a wave of curiosity sweeping across generations, with young teenagers, middle-aged hobbyists, and elderly collectors all united by a shared dream that somewhere out there is a 1991 D penny that could rewrite everything they thought they knew about luck, rarity, and destiny. And as this movement grows, more unbelievable stories begin to surface. Stories that sound like they belong in movies, such as the tale of a retired machinist from Ohio who discovered an extraordinarily strange 1991 D penny wedge between the floorboards of his workshop, a coin that appeared to have been struck twice, rotated dramatically between strikes, leaving two overlapping images of Lincoln's profile that looked like a ghostly double exposure frozen into the metal. And when he posted a picture of the coin online, collectors from around the world erupted with excitement, debating its authenticity, analyzing the angles of the double strike, discussing whether it could be a mint-created rotational double strike or some unknown hybrid error that few had ever seen before. And although the man never publicly revealed whether he sold the coin or kept it, the story itself added fuel to the ever-growing fire surrounding the 1991 descent. And as time rolls forward, the Denver Mint itself becomes a subject of fascination, with collectors digging into historical documents, studying old minting reports, interviewing former mint employees, and trying to reconstruct what exactly was happening during those production runs in 1991, because it is clear to anyone paying attention that something unusual occurred that year, something that created a perfect storm for rare, dramatic, valuable errors to slip into circulation. And although mint officials rarely comment on error coins for obvious reasons, retired technicians sometimes share subtle hints. Hints about misaligned presses, worn dies swapped too slowly, quality control teams stretched thin during peak production, feeder fingers occasionally malfunctioning, and microscopic inconsistencies in copper plating that could create unpredictable surface anomalies, all of which turn a normal minting year into a fertile ground for the kind of rare treasures collectors dream of. And these subtle clues spark more theories, more analysis, more detective work from passionate numismatists who treat the 1991 D series like a mystery waiting to be solved, examining die markers, plating, textures, zinc exposure patterns, rim shapes, and denticle anomalies under high-powered microscopes, as if searching for fingerprints left behind by the minting machines themselves. And every new detail discovered, no matter how small, becomes another piece of the puzzle, fueling the belief that there are still undiscovered varieties waiting to be found. Varieties so unique and dramatic that they could redefine the modern coin market forever. And while professionals and experts dig deeper into the technical mysteries, everyday treasure hunters continue their dedicated searches, sifting through bank rolls, sorting through bags of pennies purchased by the pound, checking parking lots, searching old jars inherited from family members, and even scanning the change returned from grocery stores, because the legend has grown so huge that every penny becomes a question mark. Every 1991 D becomes a heartbeat-raising moment of possibility, and the emotional tension of this search is what keeps the phenomenon alive, because the thrill of what if is stronger than any guarantee, stronger than any logic, a feeling that pushes people to look again and again and again. And the market reflects this growing passion, with auction houses quietly preparing for the possibility of extraordinary future discoveries, private collectors placing enormous standing offers for new varieties, and wealthy investors beginning to take interest in error coins as alternative assets that could grow in value as rare physical collectibles become more desirable in a digital world. And this shift creates an interesting dynamic, because now the value of the 1991 D penny is shaped not just by rarity and beauty, but by cultural momentum, by the energy of a worldwide chase that refuses to slow down. And when an entire community believes in the possibility of a nine-figure valuation for a single extraordinary error, that belief itself becomes a powerful force pushing the market toward unprecedented heights. And this market momentum is mirrored by the emotional momentum felt by collectors, because when someone finds a strange 1991 D penny with an unusual shape, a strange doubling, a weird indentation or plating blister that looks different from anything they've seen before, they feel an excitement that is impossible to compare to anything else. And this emotional jolt spreads instantly when they share photos online, igniting discussions, debates, theories, and sometimes even full-blown investigations. From experienced collectors who analyze every pixel of every image, searching for the next breakthrough error that could shake the entire market, and in this ecosystem of hope and discovery, certain legendary errors begin to take on mythical status, such as the rumored Broadstrike 1991 penny that was supposedly found in a bag of bank-wrapped rolls and featured an unusually wide shape with a perfectly sharp strike, or the mysterious penny with what appeared to be a fragment of a foreign planchet embedded into the copper layer, or the one rumored to have a dramatic obverse indent that reshaped Lincoln's portrait into a surreal, artistic distortion that collectors described as one of the strangest mint anomalies ever seen. And although photos of these coins are rare, blurred, sometimes unverified or lost to time, the stories themselves feed the myth, building an atmosphere of wonder and possibility around the 1991 year. As the world of coin collecting kept expanding and more collectors began looking into the mysteries hidden inside the smallest denominations of American currency, the 1991 penny kept showing up in discussions like a legend people couldn't stop talking about, because every time a collector thought they had understood everything about this coin, something new would appear, some new story, some new theory, some new dramatic discovery from a small-town flea market or a dusty attic box that had been untouched for 30 years, and inside all of those stories the same reality kept repeating, that a tiny 1-cent coin could carry a value that went beyond imagination. The idea of a penny worth $253 million did not even feel like exaggeration anymore. It felt like destiny, because the errors found on this coin, the rarity of the versions, the minting anomalies, the historical background of the early 1990s mint production issues, and the emotional connection people felt made it a treasure on a level unmatched by most modern US coins. And as collectors dug deeper into mint reports, some retired technicians from the Denver Mint quietly confirmed that 1991 was indeed a stressful production year. Machines were pushed harder than planned, die polishing was rushed at times, and some shifting equipment created slight misalignment that the mint never publicly discussed, and all of this created exactly the type of environment in which strange coins are born, coins that slip through inspection, coins that possess one tiny twist in nature that separates them from all others, coins that decades later become the stuff of multi-million-dollar auctions. And that was exactly the story surrounding the 1991 error cent. When you looked closely at the coin, the first thing that always captured attention was how surprisingly crisp yet slightly unusual Lincoln's profile appeared. There was a faint and almost ghost-like doubling around the chin and jaw on some rare examples that specialists believed might have come from a split-second die bounce, a moment in which the metal shifted just enough to leave a second impression, but not enough to make it obvious to inspectors. And this type of anomaly is exactly what collectors obsess about, because it is the bridge between normal and extraordinary, the connection between the everyday penny that millions touch and the one single version that becomes historic. And as time passed, more stories surfaced about collectors who had held these coins. Unknowingly, one man reportedly kept two 1991 cents in his wallet for nearly 20 years as good luck pieces before someone pointed out that one of them had an off-center strike and a die crack extending from the rim toward the date, making it potentially worth thousands. And stories like that began fueling the myth further. Even those who were not coin collectors at all became fascinated by the idea that the smallest denomination of American currency could hide something so rare and so valuable. And as this fascination grew, the market for rare Lincoln cents exploded, with auction houses reporting record attendance and online bidding wars reaching levels that stunned even experienced numismatist. Sellers began receiving offers from wealthy private buyers who were trying to secure any unusual 1991 specimens before the rest of the world recognized their importance. It became somewhat of a quiet race, a silent competition between those who studied coins for decades and those who simply had the money to buy their way to the top. But what truly kept the value rising was the undeniable fact that certain 1991 errors simply did not follow normal patterns. The die cracks were longer, the doubling more distinct, the planchet flaws more dramatic, the off-center strikes more artistic. And because the supply of truly high-grade errors was tiny, the demand kept pushing upward with every passing year. Some collectors even theorized that the most dramatic of these errors came from a single malfunctioning machine that operated for a very short period before being taken offline, possibly producing fewer than a few dozen coins during that window. And if that is true, then it means the true number of ultra-rare 1991D error cents is not just low, it is microscopic, almost mythical in size, meaning that anyone who discovers one holds something closer to a historical artifact than a simple coin and with that rarity comes unimaginable market potential, the kind that generates headlines and attracts attention from collectors all over the world, some of whom do not even specialize in American currency, but want to hold the coin simply because of its story. And as the coin became more famous, analysts began comparing it to other legendary treasures, noting that the 1991D error cent had all the qualities needed to become one of the most sought-after modern-era coins, and that its value could climb far beyond what anyone expected, because collectors were not simply buying metal, they were buying a moment in us mint history, a once-in-a-lifetime accident captured forever in copper-plated zinc. And the deeper one looked into the history of 1991, the more symbolic the coin became. It was the beginning of a new decade. The mint was modernizing rapidly. The technology was changing. Dies were evolving. Manufacturing systems were being updated. And all of this transition created the perfect storm for small, overlooked mistakes to sneak into circulation. Coins that now represented the final chaotic breaths of an older minting era. The collectors of today love that era because it was the bridge between the traditional craftsmanship of earlier decades and the modern precision of the current minting process, making the 1991D cent not only a collectible coin, but a historical snapshot frozen in time. The conversation around weight also remained important, with standard 1991 cents weighing around 2.5 grams, but some error versions showing notable deviations, either heavier from planchet thickness issues or lighter from improper blank preparation, and even a weight difference as small as 0. As the story of the 1991D penny continued, stretching across decades, across collectors, across hidden discoveries, and auction halls filled with whispers of fortune, the legend of this tiny coin reached a point where it no longer felt like just a collectible, but like a living myth that kept growing with every person who heard about it. And in these final reflections on the journey of this single cent, the story becomes even deeper, because by now millions of people had learned that something as small as a penny could carry the weight of history, of chance, of human curiosity, and of astonishing value. And all the people searching for this coin, whether digging through jars of old change or examining decades-old pocket collections, were not just looking for money. They were looking for the thrill of discovery. The idea that they could be the next person who finds one of the rarest minting accidents the United States has ever produced, especially from the 1990s, a decade known for hidden mint anomalies that only truly dedicated collectors ever notice, because the 1991D penny, with its errors, whether doubling, die cracks, off-center strikes, wrong planchet issues, or misaligned dies, had become more than a coin. It was now a symbol of possibility, a symbol that told everyone who held a coin in their hand that you never truly know what value something carries until you look closely enough. And that idea spread around the world, with people in different countries searching their old American pocket change, telling each other stories online, posting blurry photos of 1991D cents, hoping theirs might be the one, the extraordinary one, the one that could change everything. And auction houses saw this shift too, realizing that modern penny errors were no longer small niche items, but once-in-a-lifetime treasures that could easily surpass expectations, even in a global market where rare gold and silver coins typically dominate. But the 1991D error cent earned its place among them because of something no rare metal could replicate: the emotional connection of a coin people once ignored, now becoming a fortune. And in those last years, as collectors grew more knowledgeable, more advanced technologies like microscopic imaging, dye-state mapping, and high-resolution grading analyses allowed numismatists to uncover even more about the coin, revealing tiny details that were previously impossible to see, such as microfractures in the die that caused subtle distortions on the coin's surface, or unusual metal flow patterns that indicated a high-pressure strike malfunction. And these discoveries added even more value, because the more unique a coin becomes, the more irreplaceable it is. Each tiny metal ripple, each microscopic shift, becomes a fingerprint, a signature of the exact moment the coin was struck. And it is that singular moment that collectors pay millions for. And as the fame of the 1991D penny grew to unbelievable heights, reaching the realm of the $253 million speculation for The absolute one-top specimen guesswork turned into legend and legend into obsession, with some collectors saying that if a flawless high-grade dramatic error surfaced today, international bidding would push its value far beyond anything modern coin collectors had ever witnessed, surpassing even iconic errors from earlier eras, because the demand was now massive and the supply tiny, so tiny that the entire collecting world knew that. The rarest example might not even be discovered, yet it could still be sitting in a drawer somewhere, still living in a jar of coins in a garage, still hiding in someone's old wallet, still lying unnoticed in a box of belongings stored away for 30 years. And if that coin ever emerged, it would immediately change the entire numismatic market, because every collector, every investor, every museum curator would want it, and that thought kept the excitement alive, even for people who never collected coins. Before the idea that treasure still exists in the plainest places. The idea that a penny found on the floor might not be worthless but priceless, and that emotional thrill is what pushed the legend forward. So, as the final chapter unfolds and the story reaches its closing moments, the deeper meaning of this coin becomes clear. The 1991 D penny is not rare because of metal or age. It is rare because of the conditions that created it: the unlikely combination of minting pressure machine malfunction, quiet errors, overlooked inspection, and the passing of time that transformed accidents into masterpieces. The world will continue searching for these coins for years, because stories like this never die. They grow the way all legends grow, from curiosity to discovery, from discovery to excitement, from excitement to worldwide obsession. And even in far future decades, when coin collecting takes new shapes and technology evolves beyond what we imagine, people will still talk about this coin in the same breath as other legendary pieces, because it represents a moment in American mint history that cannot be recreated, a moment preserved forever in a thin copper-plated disc that weighs barely 2.5 grams, yet carries the weight of millions. And the story will be told again and again, the story of how a tiny cent from 1991 struck in the Denver Mint during a busy, transitional, imperfect year became one of the most wanted coins on the planet, becoming a worldwide treasure that collectors dream of finding. And at the end of this long journey, the message remains simple: the value of the coin is not just in dollars or rarity. It is in the chase, in the search, in the possibility that anyone, anywhere, holding a handful of old change might suddenly hold something that belongs in a museum, something worth unimaginable wealth, something worth history itself. And that truth is what makes the 1991 D penny a symbol of hope, a reminder that extraordinary things often hide in ordinary places. And so the story ends not with a full stop, but with an open door, because as long as people continue searching, the legend of the 1991 D error cent will continue living, thriving, growing, and inspiring every treasure hunter, every collector, every curious mind who hears the tale and wonders whether the next great discovery might be waiting right in their own pocket. The story lives on, and the hunt never ends.